to demonstrate. It is our right to protest. And then we've seen some, incidences of violence following protests. And then we wonder, so the right of people to protest, and it says enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia and in our laws. Yet, the rights of others to move freely, not to be inhibited from doing what they are supposed to do. How do those play out in themselves? Perhaps there's a need to provide some clarity to this. To do that, therefore, it's important we call those who are involved on a day-to-day basis and perhaps are vested with the authority to provide some clarity on this kind of issues. Then we decide to find those who can do it for us, and we knew fully well because it is an issue of rights. The Human Rights Commission would definitely not take them out, but we didn't want them to play a side role. That's why we asked Councilor T. Brown to kindly serve as one of our speakers. Usually, we will have only one speaker for this August event. We chose 2 speakers. And we look in between and say, well, look, the media also provides so much information to the public on these issues. So it's important that the media is informed and involved. And we thought about it, asked our brother Frank Singola to please, as a leading figure in our media world here in Liberia, to be one of our presenters and speakers, and graciously accepted. We thank both of you. Well, we know fully well that all of these really filter into the Ministry of Justice. So we decided, look, the ministry has a very critical and cardinal role to play. We have to let the ministry be involved in this. Why is it that way? We do know that in a few months we will involve a year and a half, so we go into elections. What that means, therefore, is demonstrations will continue to come about on the election day. And people could interpret any arrest of anybody who is demonstrating as trying to silence them democratically or politically. Therefore, it's important that the ministry is here, the ministry is involved, and we all can discuss this together. Nonetheless, this is an issue of knowledge. So we felt, well, it's important that the education sector is also doing this, because in that way, they will also provide some clarity to schools and to the public. After all, our Constitution provides that it should be taught in every school in the Republic. Based on that, and based on the fact that, well, all of these will go into advocacy, so civil society is relevant. That's why we call civil society. And because lawyers are very critical to our, political process as well as our legal process, and they inform us in a way we could not leave out the legal community, so we asked AFL, we invited the bar as well, and we have AFL to the citizen. Thanks for coming. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinguished honor to say thank you, and I wish us a very, very, very incisive conversation that will inform the public of where we go from here as we move on. Do know that after the presentations, there will be questions and answers. We will look forward to the ministry, to AFL, Ministry of Education, to the Teachers Association, to the civil society, to chip in terms of the questions and the answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Babu, for that very comprehensive overview.
That was the voice of Dr. Jala A. Babu of Accra.
Dr. Babu, now he's Jala A. Babu II, who will introduce our first speaker of the day. Mr. Babu.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to introduce the first speaker of our 2 speakers for today's engagement. As a start, both speakers will address the same topic, which is does demonstration or protest amount to assembly as provided for under the laws of Liberia, whose constitutional rights are affected. Our first speaker is Councilor T. Brown, the chairperson of Liberia's Independent National Commission on Human Rights. Councilor Brown is an acknowledged human rights protection advocate, a teacher by profession. He is a member of the Bar of the Supreme Court of Liberia and the founder of the Center for Human Rights, an a non-governmental organization that provides free legal services to the people of Liberia and keeps providing for several years. Honestly, Councillor Brown needs no further introduction. Thus, I now invite him to the podium.
Okay, fellow participants, I've got greeting to you from the Independent National Human Rights Commission. Upon receipt of your invitation to be one of your speakers on the topic, does demonstration amounts to assembly as provided for under the laws of Liberia and whose constitutional rights are violated? We accepted this invitation because the issue, especially the topic, is legal and also human rights related. And our mandate as Human Rights Commission, which gave us the right to protect and promote the rights of our citizens, we accepted this invitation. Now, does demonstration amounts to assembly as provided for under our Constitution and whose rights are violated? Under Article 17 of the Liberian Constitution, it states that all persons at all times in an orderly and peaceable manner shall have the right to assemble and consult upon the common good, to instruct their representative to petition the government or other functionaries for redress of grievances and to associate fully with others or refuse to associate. Referring to the question as to whether or not demonstration amounts to assembly as provided for by law, the Liberian Constitution is silent on demonstration and protest, but the Constitution clearly states that peaceful assembly. So the question is whether or not protests and demonstration are under the Constitution. Reference to the question as to whether demonstration amount to assembly, demonstration is defined as a group of people with common interests that get in the street, voicing out their dissatisfaction about economic, social, and political issues in the society. Therefore, under the amended executive law that defines the role of the police, it clearly states under Section 28.86, entitled Public Order, any person who desires to hold any special event in the form of demonstration, march, or similar event in any public place shall notify the county attorney where the event is to take place of his or her intention not less than 7 days before the date of special event. This is a very interesting article that we cited. There is nothing in the Constitution that says that you should ask for permit. No. There is nothing in the Constitution that says that you should write Ministry of Justice to say that please give me permission, let me go and demonstrate or protest. But what the Act is saying, that you should notify the police that you want to have a demonstration. And the rationale behind that is for the police to provide security for you. It is the responsibility of the police to provide security for protesters and demonstrators. So often people say that the Ministry of Justice, that is the minister now, should give you permit. No. I want you to get it clear today. You are not compelled to ask the Minister of Justice to give you permit, but you have the obligation to notify the police director that you want to demonstrate. Now, when the demonstration or protest is to take place in any of the counties, you write the county attorney, and the county attorney will get in touch with the boss at the Minister of Justice. The Minister of Justice will consult the Director of Police. That's what I say. He will consult the Director of Police for protection. But where it is believed that that protest or demonstration will become chaotic, they can deny you. Now, there's a redress if you are being denied not to have the protest or demonstration. You have to go to the court for judicial review. And the court will look and see whether your protest, because in your letter of notification, you have to spell out the reason why, the purpose of which you want to have the protest. Now, here, you have to spell out the place and hour of the events, the nature of the event, the time and commencement of the events, the proposed time of closure of the event. The reason why they have listed this under the Act, you can't go and demonstrate for a whole day, you don't want to get off the street. You must spell out the time when you will get in the street, what hour, and what route or route are you taking. That is, if the police is being notified and give you the go-ahead to go and do your demonstration, the police will come and tell you that you pass on this side. Don't go on this side. Because the topic that you give, it says that whose rights are being violated during protest and demonstration, whose rights will be affected. So the police will take precaution and tell you, you take this route, don't go on this side so that you can block traffic. If you block traffic, it means that you are violating the right of pedestrians, and those are going to wait. Cars will not pass. This is the reason why you have to notify the police to give you that protection. But what is interesting, under Article 15 of this Constitution, that says that you should assemble to petition your representatives. But what we noticed in recent time is that protest and demonstration, instead of going to the Capitol building, is now going to the embassy. It's wrong. It's a violation of Article 17 of the Liberian Constitution. Because the Constitution says that you should assemble to petition your representative where? Capitol building, not to the embassy. This is the problem that we have. Now, in recent time, there are two groups of people. July 26th, we have CDC, COP, and Student Unification Party. Student Unification Party wrote the Ministry of Justice that they were going to go to demonstrate. And also notify the police. Notwithstanding, CDC said that they never asked for permission or notify the police because it is their constitutional right. You see the problem we have. But where did they go? The question is whether or not they were right to go where they went. Under our law, it was wrong. The Constitution says go to your representative to petition them. If you feel that something is wrong in a society that has to do with social, economic, and political, situation, you present your petition to your people and outline that and instruct them because you elected them as to what you want to be done. So, as assembly, if where the intention of the protester or the demonstrators is to cause chaos and get in the street, ignores police instruction, then it is not peaceful assembly. It is not peaceful assembly. If the intention is to cause instability, then it is not peaceful assembly. And the protest or demonstration must go to the right place. Going to the EU, go to American embassy and other international, how you call that, embassies here. We as Human Rights Commission believe that it should not be that way. The disrespect for the rule of law is what causing problems in the society today. We must be able to abide by the law. Because if you don't abide by law, you are looking for instability. And so, this topic is very interesting. It's very interesting. You should not violate the rights of others because you are protesting and demonstrating. Your demonstration or protest should go to the Capitol Hill. Because the Constitution says peaceful assembly. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing that this topic is a human rights related topic. The protester or organizer of protests and demonstration must be done in line with law. If it is not done in line with law, then chaos will come about. So thank you. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Councilor Brown.
Yeah.
I hope we're jotting down our questions. I see the minister is writing. If you need extra pad or paper, we can help you out. So Mr. Babu is going to come and introduce the second speaker.
Our second speaker is Mr. Frank Sanwola Jr., former Secretary General of the Press Union of Liberia, 1999 to 2001. He holds a BA degree in Mass Communication from the University of Liberia and a graduate certificate in the University of Missouri, Columbia, Herbert Humphrey Fellow, and worked as a journalist for many years, both in Liberia and abroad. Our speaker was the station manager for Radio Veritas Catholic Media Center, Monrovia, Liberia, July 2014 to November of 2015. He was the head of the English Desk Service, West Africa Democratic Radio, Dakar, Senegal, 2008 to 2013. Station manager, Radio Veritas, 2014 2000. Assistant station manager, Radio Veritas, Capital Media Center, Monrovia, Liberia, 2002 to 2018. Liberia correspondent, Pan African News Agency, 2004 to 2008. Liberia correspondent, Voice of America, Africa, 2004-2007. Sorry. Editor-in-Chief, Liberia Broadcasting System, 1996 to 1998. The president serves as the managing editor, founder, senior managing partner, Republic Trust Media Group Incorporated. Part-time lecturer of journalism, Department of Mass Communication and Media Studies, University of Liberia. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Frank Siawola Jr., our speaker.
Can you allow me to say that?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I see my window in the background, Councilor Brown. I can remember those days when we covered the civil conflict. I was always at his door. Councillor Babu and staff of the Constitutional Research Policy and Strategic Development Institute, distinguished panelists, government officials here, lawyers, fellow media colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Let me say how honored I am to have been chosen by this office to serve as one of the panelists, I understand, for the 5th series. In your letter to me, you gave a very candid description of the reality. You call demonstrations hot-button issues. As you correctly said, the right to assembly and hold demonstration is indeed a hot-button issue. Indeed, for the past 43 years, successive Liberian governments, including the current CDC regime, have been overwhelmed by what I call demonstration phobia. In the journalistic piece I published in the local dailies on August 8, 2013, I warned that since the April 14, 1979 rice riot, bloody, Liberians have continued to be haunted by their intolerant past. It is a contradiction, scary yet comical. My dear country, Liberia's vicious cycle of intolerance. The merits, demerits of a demonstration apart, Liberians seem to find it extremely difficult to cultivate the culture of tolerance and respect of the rights of peaceful assembly. Notwithstanding the last 4 decades marred by a culture of violence, military coups and counter-coups crowned by a fratricidal civil war, successive regimes have played to the same tunes that marred the political landscape. By the end of the war in 2003, some 250,000 people lost their lives. And we know a UN estimate, some of them were in political demonstrations. Back in April 2013, when my article was widely published, there was a standoff between the former Unity Party government, former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and the then opposition CDC, now the new guards in power. I said then, quote, "Today, still not unshackles from this hangover, a big debate for and against a plain, peaceful street demonstration in Monrovia on April 12, 2013, being organized by the opposition politicians, civil society groups, to denounce corruption, injustice, abuse of power, and alleged rights abuses. Now, does demonstration amount to assembly? I say yes, because it is a projection of citizens' rights to exercise their freedom under the law and petition their leaders. I heard my respected older brother talk about only at the Capitol building. We'll talk that during the question and answer period. Whose constitutional rights are affected? I say all. The demonstrators, those who are not part of it, as well. The Constitution guarantees the right to peaceful assembly for the demonstrators. At the same time, this very Constitution guarantees the right to freedom of movement of others. Demonstration in the eyes of the Liberian law. The Constitution or demonstration is defined by Cambridge Dictionary in this way: an occasion when a group of people march or stand together to show that they disagree with or support something or someone. For Merriam-Webster's dictionary, the synonym for demonstration is what? Rally, display, exhibition, a mass meeting for the purpose of displaying or arousing support for a cause or person. Without playing with semantics, demonstration and assembly are synonymous. Dictionary.com defines assembly as assembling or coming together of a number of persons, usually for a particular purpose. Now, in chapter 3 of the Liberian Constitution, which is considered as our Bill of Rights, demonstration is one of our fundamental rights, which is in consonance with basic international standards, also guaranteed under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which Liberia signed after the Second World War in 1948. Article 17, Councillor Brown already talked about it, but it talks about peaceful assembly. And that's why I think we should underline peaceful assembly. However, while citizens have right to demonstrate or peacefully assemble guaranteed under Article 17 of the Constitution, the media and other pro-democracy groups need to educate people that rights are not absolute. Rights are not absolute. Where one right ends, another begins. Also, one of the underlying principles of human rights is interdependency. This means human rights violations are interconnected. Loss of one right detracts from other rights. Similarly, promotion of human rights in one area supports another human rights. Like Councillor Brown was talking about people blocking the roads. That should be condemned. Right to free movement is also under the Constitution, Article 13. Quote, every person lawfully within the Republic shall have the right to move freely throughout Liberia, to reside in any part thereof, and to leave therefore or therefrom, subject, however, to the safeguarding of public security, public order, public health, or morals, or the rights and freedoms of others, unquote. Remember also that Liberia is a state party to the 1986 International Convention on Civil and Political Rights. Article 21 governs the right or guarantees the rights of peaceful assembly, providing that. June 7, 2019, the COP Save the State, monitored by human rights groups, locally and internationally. We understand up to 20 of them. As clear indication of the demonstration phobia and hysteria still haunting us, one local newspaper headline read then, "Scaring signs ahead of June 7 protests." Fortunately, at the end of the day, with the Liberia National Police de-escalating the tension, not being overzealous and serving the protesters with water, the steam was eventually taken out of that protest. Having carried two stories online earlier, I had a reporter at the Capitol. I said, I'll pull on my jacket and go there. And when I went there by 4, 5, I saw the steam were out because the police behaved in the way they should behave. At the same time, Article 15 talked about rights, freedom, speech, press, etc. But one thing that Article 15 underlines is that we should exercise these rights responsibly, and we will be responsible for the abuse thereof. But as an independent professional journalist and Liberian patriot, we must assess demonstration or street protests within these two crucial local contexts. One, the spiraling culture of violence or mob justice and the need to be intentional about ending it. Two, the repeated demonstration phobia by governments over the years, which have disgustingly turned a number of people into heroes that they don't deserve to be. We saw that under Elling, former President Salif. We saw that under former President Taylor. I was here covering the war. Alert forces were at Clay, and people said they want to demonstrate near BTC. People became heroes then. The June 7 protests as well. Council of Patriots saved the state. They didn't even have water to give the demonstrators. Growing wave of political parties, militant brigades, like Councillor Babu mentioned, towards 2023, we should expect some nasty things, God forbid. Ahead of the crucial 2023 presidential and legislative elections in less than 14 months from now, a mushrooming of demonstrations could be organized, some with good intent, others with sinister motives, while the troublemakers and vandals are looking for every opportunity to exploit such a situation. Some things that can spark and/or exacerbate tensions in the wake of planned protests, or we should take note of them. I'm glad my big brother, the Deputy Minister, is there. Some things we should watch out for. Overzealousness of some state security forces, including the police and EPS. The security forces must be apoliticized. It's very, very important. Growing weaponizing of politics by both the ruling parties and opposition parties with the consolidation of the militant brigades. We've heard lawmaker Yeke call by with that. We shouldn't take it lightly. Those people will say they won't demonstrate. And when they get on the street, we know the implications. We saw this with CDC party militants, protests or demonstrations at the headquarters in Congo Town, when people, including the police deputy inspector general, was maltreated. And they gave him what we locally call in local parlance government farina, sand in his mouth. They were protesting at the party headquarters. The police went there to bring order. We also saw the bloody violent protests and counter-protests by opposition ANC youth wing militants at the party's FE shortcut headquarters, with protesters using knives and machetes. Several persons were wounded some time ago. Another key thing that needs to change, as I said, overzealousness of state security. I recommend that we professionalize and depoliticize our state security forces. Journalists have a responsibility to ensure that we are above partisan interests. And this comes in our coverage of protest or demonstration or assembly. We need to harmonize the various agencies of the national state security apparatus so as to avoid overlapping of function. The police has a riot squad that is statutorily responsible to deal with those situations. And when the police can't do it, they call in the army for the appropriate reason. Finally, it must be emphatically stated here that while the Liberian Constitution guarantees the right to assembly, this assembly must be held peacefully under Article 17. Leaders and organizers of demonstrations, political and others, are under patriotic obligation to provide civic education to their supporters on the importance of being peaceful at all times and do away with the alarming behavior of mob violence. The police and state security forces must do everything to exercise the utmost restraint, even if demonstrators cross the line. To our journalist colleagues, let us do more to put a spotlight on the violent mob under the guise of exercising the rights to demonstrate or protest. As we cover the many demonstrations we expect to witness in the coming weeks and months, we must clearly let the chips fall where they may in our coverage of protests. If the police use the tear gas or even rubber bullets was triggered by violent action of demonstrators, let it be said, because even the police have the right to life. If the demonstration was peaceful till the police unleash excessive force, let's be keen on doing that. Finally, the use of the proportional force to crack down on violent riots, even in the world's biggest democracy, the United States of America. Democracy using proportionate force to crack down on violence is appropriate in a democracy. Flashback, we saw that in 2022 and 2020, the George Floyd protests. The protesters got violent and the police used rubber bullets. But let's say it as it is. You can't have people going, burning people's vehicle, and then the police giving them ice cream. It doesn't happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so very much. May we give our two speakers another round of applause for such excellent presentations. We've come to another important part. Questions and answers. I saw many people jumping down those. Now, before you ask your question, kindly call your name and the institution you represent. And this section is going to be moderated by our Executive Director, Councilor Dr. Jala.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I can't thank the speakers enough. For a good way to do it is to give them a standing ovation. Can we come? Let's stand up for the speakers. Speakers, thank you so much. Thank you so very much. This has been a quite, a ballistic approach to the conversations we hold in this country. Except that it is one that is enlightening more than anything else, and it has nothing that is hurting any of us. So I want to say thank you for that. All right. So let me just say something more about what the speaker said. So the speakers agree on the protection of the right to assembly. They underlined that assembly is to be peaceful and to express their agreements or disagreements and not for any violence. The speaker said that clearly. And the speakers were emphatic on the need to educate the public, on the need to remain subject to compelling state interest. The speaker also said that even though we're talking about compelling state interest, it is not for the state alone to protect, but it's for the people of Liberia themselves to understand that. However, the speakers parted ways on a decisive response. Councillor Brown observed that demonstration is not to go beyond public facilities or facilities that are hosting the public's representatives. He mentioned the Capitol building. Mr. Sinwola, on the other hand, believes it goes beyond the Capitol building, and he wants us to discuss that in the question and answer period, which we are on now. But distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before we now come to our question and answer, we have a very senior government official here in our midst. And he comes from the ministry that advises the government legally. And that ministry has the most senior legal advisor to the people of Liberia. Honorable Unity Tuan sits in that position right here in this building. He represents the Ministry of Justice. We will give him the honor that he definitely deserves to make his statement before we come to the question and answer, so that we will have the opportunity to perhaps put one or two pieces of question to him as well. Honorable Tuan.
Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you for this Honorable Musabin. I love to hear my previous engagement. Ask me to proceed on his behalf. Well, firstly, I want to thank all of the speakers. I have a little point that I think I need to put forth. Before going further, we would like to know the definition between assembly and demonstration. They are not synonymous. And if we have to look at the Constitution, it needs to be looked at squarely, holistically, and not to impute words that are not formed within the Constitution. Article 17 make it, what do you people call it clear? Hey, you can assemble peacefully. What does assembly mean? It's like a group of gathered together in a place for a common purpose. Assembly means, we are going to, let's assume the University of Liberia. Abu gets in his car, he goes there. Kebe gets in your car, she goes there. We all assemble at the university. What petition we have? We read it to our lawmakers. We have to go to the government, proceed to the executive marshal, read it, and that's it. That's what the Constitution says. So now, do we want to impute that we are not in the Constitution? The answer is no. Secondly, if you try to impute that, then we look at what you call a Republican test. Okay? Can that which you try to impute in the Constitution, can they hold vis-a-vis the Constitution, or the Constitution or cabinet law of the country? The answer is no. We are saying yes. Let's go further than that. When we talk about equality before the law, equal protection, you cannot be saying you want to demonstrate, or you want to demonstrate, you want to protest. I, as an individual, or other citizens out there, want to use it around, who will be embarrassed. So we say that, look, firstly, this demonstration thing here is not covered on our law. Okay? All you want to do, you can go to the lawmakers, they can repeal the law and add demonstration inside. Fair enough. But Liberia being what it is, look, we will use some discretionary powers, okay? Where we allow people to march, all right? And in that process, there is a negotiation between the marchers and the provider of the security. Because if you don't do that, seriously it's going to be chaotic. And even people that join the march, I don't have to tell you, there are people of various interests. Some are criminals, and you just name it. So if you follow the history of this country, no protest, no demonstration has ever been peaceful. That was 1979 Red Riot, which led to 1982. Because the demonstration was so violent, but the left was about to bring Guineans. So what I try to say here, gentlemen, is that let the Constitution be followed to the letter. All right? The Constitution says you have a peaceful assembly. Period. We will not add nor subtract. The only one we can add, go to your lawmakers. Let them have a referendum, amend that portion, bingo, they can proceed. Where the statute conflict with the Constitution, as to the extent of the conflict, the statute is inconsistent as null and void. So that is things we need to really look at. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So now we have a high-profile perspective here that is now weighing on both sides. People have a right to assemble. That's what the government of Liberia says, at least through the minister. But people don't have a right to demonstrate and disrupt the movement of other people, which is provided also in the two speakers' presentation. And he talks about equality. And there is a matter of equality and equal protection of the law here. Why disrupt other people who are so move freely? Then he says, this is why the government exercises discretionary power. And to do that, they invite you to negotiate so that they are clear about what you want to do and how you want to do it. He then cautioned us, do not extrapolate. Do not do anything that will subtract from or add to the Liberian Constitution. Even if you want to ensure that protest or demonstration becomes a part of our law, and the Constitution does not allow that, you can go to your representatives, petition them, so we have a referendum, and that referendum then will insert into the Constitution what demonstrations are and how we are supposed to carry them out. On that note, therefore, we will now open up the discussion for question and answer, and those of you who have questions will take your question and then direct it to the appropriate person who you want to answer the question, and we'll move forward. Thank you very much. Now we have 3 persons who are presented here today instead of 2. We're very happy about that. Thank you very much. Question and answer. Yes, sir.
So, Prof, I want to start off by saying, my name is Anthony Darius Tepo. I'm the executive director of the Independent National Commission on Human Rights. The issue of a separate assembly, I just want to reference to one project the minister comment about the word demonstration not being in the Constitution. The Constitution is very wrong. It's a right to assemble. If you look at the Police Act, Article Section 22, 86, it says demonstration, protest, and all similar events. In my view, I think the framework of that law we met, they were very clear that assembly also includes demonstration. So there is no reason why we should even go back to the legislature to request for another law. Demonstration includes peaceful assembly. The other comment I wanted to make also was not every right that, I think journalists have, like street journalists, friend media, when that all rights are not absolute, but certain rights are absolute. Right to life, right to study, right against slavery, right against torture, all absolute rights. I mean, there is no way that those rights can be derogated or limited in any way. I mean, that's the point I want to make. Now, the issue that the chairperson of the commission made, which is very important, and I think we need to also emphasize on, is the issue of permission and notification. Most of the time, the Minister of Justice will request permission, and the controlling law is notification. And if you see what, and I show the frameworks may not very well because if you look at the jurisprudence and general comments of human rights treaty body, the notification appears to be the controlling general practice around the world because you can't request for permission to exercise what is constitutionally guaranteed. You seek notification. That is the reason why you have the 7 days in the Police Act, 7 days to inform the police. That information is to provide the police the opportunity to plan ahead of the demonstration so that the demonstration can be organized orderly. But right to assemble is right to assemble is the same as right to protest and right to demonstration. We need to make that point clear. Now, the other point I want to make before I end is the issue of spontaneous demonstration. What happens if a group of people decide today, but something happened last night and people want to protest? Do they really need to seek the permission of the Minister of Justice? Say, for example, there's an increase in the price of rice. And so the marketer decide that this money is going to go in for the Minister of Commerce to have our placards up so that price of rice can be reduced. Do they really need to go to the Minister of Justice or notify the Minister of Justice? Spontaneous demonstration in most jurisdictions are allowed. The question is that assembly or that protest peaceful? I think that should be the controlling law. Limitation, restriction to right to assemble is an exception. The general rule is people to exercise the right to assemble. So if it is spontaneous, people get together today and move, and we have seen that several times already when people move in the street without even notifying the police. They organize themselves properly, no arrest. I think the contention is whether that protest is pro-government protest or anti-government protest. And in a democratic society, the state should be more tolerant. If people want to express themselves, people want to have it expressed, people have their own temperature with the state. The same way, the other people should be tolerant. If other people want to express their support for whatever the case is. So I want to make that point clear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that brings us to the question based on what we've just heard from him. Does the government, Ministry of Justice, the Liberia National Police, have a right to reject notification for assembly or demonstration? Human Rights Commission.
Yeah, okay. The Constitution is the supreme law of this land. It supersedes any other legislative enactment. The Constitution says that peaceful assembly. And there is a reason why you should notify the police. That is to provide you with security. I think the minister said something which is very important. During the peaceful assembly or protest, there are people that will join the group that are going to do the protest that have different intentions. And so, asking for security protection is very important. It's very important. You have your right to assemble, but you must be under the protection of the government. You cannot protest without the government, knowing about it. You are not asking for permission. You are asking for security protection so that, your protest will be successful. That's the answer there.
All right, flipping to the Ministry of Justice, with respect to your discretionary authority, can you therefore use your discretion to say, well, this notification amounts to a request to provide you protection, but we will not provide you this protection, therefore, even though we are notified, we will not allow you to protest. Can you do that?
Well, first and foremost, we look at security implications of every happening. If we have reason to believe that the assembly or the march, I don't want to use the word protest, because for me it does not exist in the Constitution. The assembly or the march, whatever it is, based upon our own security and intelligence, and for the peace and security of the state,
we will deny you. Okay? Thank you very much. Any question from the floor? Yes, sir. Where, your name and where you from?
Oh, my name is Siapa Bank Chemical Researcher, and I'm from the Law Student Association, LAWSA, in the Advocacy of Law. My question is directed to the Deputy Minister of Justice, especially. No, listening to him talking about protest is not in the Constitution, it's not in our statute. I want you to reconcile this statement to that of the letter that was issued to the recent student unification, the recent protest held by the Student Unification Party, where the Minister of Justice indicated it is a subject matter in that particular letter, where he said the protest is being used in that letter, that yet he had granted a permit for the students to protest on August 24. How can you reconcile that statement? And also to the other point being made that time immemorial protest or demonstration has not been peaceful. How can he, reconcile that statement to the most recent, protests which were held by the Student Unification Party that was very peaceful?
Mr. Minister.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, give me the first one.
So the question is, the Minister of Justice responded to the Student Unification Party in their recent notification that yes, they can go ahead and protest, and the subject of that letter was, protest, a request to protest. Say, I gave you permission to go ahead and protest. How can you reconcile that with your assertion that protest is not in the Constitution or is not something that's in our law?
Certainly, like I said, the Minister of Justice, the Attorney General of the Republic of Liberia, has some discretionary powers. And then that power is being exercised. I mean, it's crystal clear. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to agree Article 17. Article 17 is unambiguous. Crystal clear. So granting it, does that mean that it is wrong? He feels that he has reason to believe that whatever you are going to do will be peaceful. So on that basis, you can argue that right. Except you tell me there are other motives, and that motive was displayed, they will have judged you wrongly to have handed you the paper. But from all indication, we observe that your whole entire movement was peaceful.
Okay.
Okay, let me say
Yes.
something on that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
The Student Unification Party, July 26 protests, they wrote the Minister of Justice, but he refused the letter, and he sent us a copy of that letter to the Commission. Now, the last protest that was held, in fact, the Minister agreed based upon our public hearing. The Human Rights Commission conducted a public hearing, which will come over finding as to the role of the police and the Ministry of Justice, that led to this violence. Now, therefore, when the student wrote, even though the Constitution did not say they should write the Ministry of Justice appointment, but the Act said that they should notify the police. But what he did, what the minister did, when he granted permission to Student Unification Party, the last on
August 24th?
Yeah. He, in the letter, he told them to go to the Director of Police to discuss, to work out the modality. And he sent a copy of that letter to my office. So I met the Director of Police, in fact, 2 days before that. And he said that he was going to do his best. Even though there are people who criticized him June 7th when he provided water and soft drink for the protester, June 7th. I think 2021, eh? Okay. The people went and said that he was part of the opposition. Why why should he provide soft drink and water for the protesters? That's what he said. He said, but it is my responsibility as head of the police to put things under control. This is why the last gun protest, he provided soft drink and water for the children. They accompanied them. In fact, before that, he went to the university campus to meet with the students. And they went out and directly how things were going to work. So that's it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir.
My name is Evan Imanen. I'm calling from the Ministry of Justice. I want to thank Mr. Brown. He said at old age, you saw the association of wisdom. So you have a wisdom, but I want to get something clear. The Minister of Justice and Attorney General Counsel Frank Musa Day, every communication that comes into the Ministry of Justice for a summit, that letter have been sent to the Assistant Minister of Administration and Public Safety for reviewing. The communication I'm talking about present for the Student Education Party, it came to the Assistant Minister for Public Safety. The letter was on viewing, and we saw communication out that the minister agreed that the protesters should protest. Then we say the people are peaceful. No. If we were peaceful, we saw the Jamaican freeway, there was fire like on the road. So the money that government spent to face that road, you go inside on the road, they say your protest is peaceful? No. So if we give you permit, and on your permit, you didn't state that, oh, you do this, you do that, you tell what you do, and we expect you to do what you do, and you go straight for the permit, then we come to what we do to save the country. What happened during the capital building when the protesters came in part to board the capital building. We understand that the marshals that just in the capital building, we have other building material, buildings are there. So we have to disturb the protester. So if you read the Ministry of Justice and say you will protest, and we give you a permit, we won't want to send letter to do, but if you go straight with the letter, then we come what we do to save the state.
All right, so I hope we got his point. We're going to go to it. I hope we got his point. His point is, well, you're right. You must be very clear as to where you're going, what you're going to do, what you're doing it for, and don't go beyond your scope that is given to you. Should you do that, then compelling state interest comes in, and they will have to stop you. Yes, Ifel.
Yes, I'm going to dedicate to say. Yes, my question is to the minister.
Oh.
Yes. He said demonstration is prohibited under the law because it's going live. Is for the education, to educate the public. If the citizens are somewhere and then they do their petition and they carry it to the lawmaker, but then maybe the lawmaker did not respond timely, what else you think the citizen, what is a redress?
My dear lady, it is you, the citizens, elected the lawmakers. They are answerable to you. If they don't, in 2023, deal with them. You don't really like them, they will vouch your interest. What are you telling them? They should take it to the law house and say, look, this is the interest of my people and blah, 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 blah. But if they just decide for their own desire, you don't have to really like them. The Ghanaian now they say, I got my left arm. How he tells you. So you must be able to go ahead. I don't care how long the 90 day will break. Now where we are, day is breaking.
Honorable Minister,
Yeah.
for instance, there is the first year in the government tenure, and then I carry my petition, and then there is no redress.
Fine, yeah.
The minister, yeah, they are a lawmaker. Should I sit and wait for the next 5 years to be over before I get a redress by going to the pool and taking them up their position?
Sorry to say, you have not made yourself relevant. What do I mean? If I come to say I want a job, a representative, I bring you rest, I bring you this. Firstly, in the development like the state, when I say I'm running, but I believe in my ideology and policy and a platform, we get money. But in Liberia or other parts of the world here, if I want it, I'm going to get you money. So if I want you to vote for me. I tell you, because by the time I tell you my responsibility, oversight, lawmaking, and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to face rule. I'm not going to do this. But if I'm not going to do this thing, why did I go to you in the first place? Why did I ask you to vote for me? you say, oh, Councillor Twan, and this good character is this, blah, 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 decency, everything, I will vote for him. But if I come to you and say, please vote for me, and I make a statement, I'm going to be held accountable to that statement. But by the time the man comes, he's not telling you that, look, when I take over, I'll make sure I make good laws for you, and make sure this will happen, and blah, blah, blah. He brings his rice, he brings his skin juice, and bring a few dollars, then you vote. So you already sold your soul to the devil.
But we should also take into consideration that we have people among us that are not school, and most of them will not want to wait for this process, and then we always have chaos in our nation.
Fine.
Yeah.
That's why it behooves all of us in here today.
So at least where we are sitting now is like it would be better for the lawmaker to be able to put into place some law that they should hold themselves accountable. If a petition is taken to the house and then they fail to address the citizen petition, they should be liable to their own laws that they will make, and then of course.
Okay, so I think we see that whole thing rising to a point of accountability on the part of our representatives. Now, if that is the case, to flip this question a little more, or this whole discussion a little more, well, there is this whole issue of redress to the court. But those who are sitting in the Capitol building are politicians. And under our law, we talk about political question. Is any citizen, does any citizen have the right, so to speak, and will he prevail if he went to the court on that kind of issue that, look, make our representatives to listen to us, because after all, this is why they are there. Would that be a point for the court to listen to, or would the court say it's a political question? Lawyers.
Well, let me start. I say the court will say it's a political question. But you, as an individual, firstly, you need to educate your people. Among that older parents, grandparents who have not seen the school was do before. Okay? So by the time I say I want to run, you call your mama or great grandmother.
Nobody's going to wait for 5 years to get
so that man does not have good character. They raise on our county, even on our district. Please don't vote for him. If you're going to vote for him, A, B, C, D is expected to happen. Alright? So because when you come to me to say you're running, you gave your manifesto, whatever you call it, I will ask the man, can I hold you to this statement that you made? Because the law also provides that I must report that there was stewardship of what I have done in the house.
Ascribe that thing across the district of people.
So if I'm not performing, he said, look, when you give the order of so day, you made this pronouncement. You have served 2 years, or you have served 18 months, and nothing has happened. Please explain. Alright? I mean, you don't go to court because you could surely wouldn't have because of political matter. But when you start coming down on your people and telling them that, look, hey, first you not fool, you will listen.
All right. So let's give the lady here the opportunity, from there to our brother here. Huh? Wait, 1 minute, please. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
The question that the lady from Ifel,
Yeah.
is very important. But what is interesting in our society is that we are confused. What makes us confused is that members of the House of Senate and Representatives have a civil function. But they leave out their function and begin to impose development on the citizens. And it is not a responsibility of senator and representative to go deep well, to build schools. No. And so, if you make that promise to the people, you are obligated to fulfill that promise. This is where the problem is. Now, we are going to 2023. All the irregularities and malfunctioning of the legislature, the citizens will forget about that when they get have better rest. That's the problem. The only thing we have to do now, the Human Rights Commission, we are seeking for funding to provide civic education for the citizens. Be very mindful as to who they elect, so that the clarity will be made there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, madam.
All right. Thank you. My name is Elizabeth Yapasu, representing Faith and Justice Network. I am from Sierra Leone. So looking at the case that happened in Sierra Leone recently, right, wherein you say citizens write, a letter to the government to tell them that they want to take to the streets, and it's not approved, and they still go on to the streets to protest. What does the law say in terms of human rights, and does the government have the right? I know that when they go to the streets unlawfully, they are to be punished in a way. But what are the limits? I mean, is it allowed for the government to take the lives of innocent citizens, even those that maybe might just be trying to document the issue, and in the process they are, caught in all of it? What does the law say to protect the citizens that are?
It's common using unnecessary force. I mean, the police or the security must use reasonable force to bring a matter to watch. Okay. What we're saying, to the extent of shooting somebody, it's wrong. Okay. You can only do those things there where it's in the defense of a third party. Innocent third party. Where it's okay, I can use this force because let's assume you and myself had a problem. You say, okay, now I got this time to get even with you. You don't take some cutlass or whatever to chop my head off. The police can shoot your phone to make sure they disable you that you don't shoot. But say, policeman, you do anything, they just go and shoot you, it's wrong. Because everything the law tells about is due process. So why then will I take the law into my hand? Okay? Even though I'm protecting life and property and preserving the state, does not mean that I should take away anybody's life.
All right, so then that flips us a little bit to Frank, Mr. Singwola, who ended very strongly when he said, when you're doing these things and become violent and things look that kind of way, the police will not give you ice cream. Addressing her question, what will you say?
Yeah, I think for me, I've covered a lot of demonstrations during peacetime, during wartime. There are two factors involved. Sometimes people organize demonstrations to actually vent out their dissatisfaction over genuine concerns. There are other times people do it, and sometimes we tend to be copycat. To be another Arab Spring, for example. So once you have that tendency for that particular protest or demonstration to be used for unintended purposes. I keep mentioning, I drive you from Sierra Leone. I was reading on the report on Sierra Leone Liberia situation. The fragileness of our peace and the need for both sides, the governors and the governed, to exercise tolerance. Listening to my big brother, the minister, who won the whole referendum on defining demonstration in the Constitution, it speaks to the fact that our governments continue to be demonstration of protest phobia. It's serious. Because and listening to that Justice Ministry fellow, it sends a signal that there is a need for coordination, even between the Justice Ministry and the police, certain elements in the police. I listened to IG Sulu talking about how the police were trained in democracy policing. my unmail and what have you, we need to face the fact. Inside the state security institutions and the government, there are people who have a mindset on protest or demonstration. So whether the protest or the demonstration is peaceful, they will think that it's a privilege for people to get permit to peacefully assemble or protest. On the other hand, there are people on the other side who are wooing for protest, but who want to not necessarily let the officials listen to their concern, but they want to say some sort of people uprising or something like that. And you will see more of those factors coming in as we move along. Like I said, people who wanted to follow the Arab Spring pattern realized that that failed the Middle East. Where is Tunisia today? Huh? Where is Tunisia in terms of democracy? Where is Libya? Libya is worse off than it ever was under Gaddafi. You know? So, what I'm saying here is mutual tolerance. And people should understand the limits under the law. Everyone has the right to peacefully protest. But do it, to protest, but do it peacefully. And my council, senior brother there talked about rights not being absolute. Yes, right to life and the right to torture, okay? But rights are not absolute because you may be exercising your right as a citizen, and I too want to exercise my right. I made mention of, I think it's Article 13 that talks about freedom of movement in the Constitution. Yeah. Should we now define the Justice Ministry people, define what level of actually, I think, no, let me be frank. Our governments don't learn lessons from the past. And that's what this is bringing up. They don't learn lessons from the past. Ellen did that. And you're just building heroes for nothing. Ellen built a lot of heroes. For nothing heroes. Because some of the things they were doing, it was against the law. But because they had the public sentiments and the police itself acted overzealous, like what happened at the party headquarters in 2011, CBC headquarters. For nothing. Those guys just want to get prominent.
Thank you, Mr. Simola. Yes, sir.
We conducted a police training workshop in recent time. One of the topics that were discussed was when will excessive force be used by the police during demonstrations? And all the senior commanders attended the workshop because the police, they want to please the government at a civil fencing. So when the people get in the street to do demonstration, they either use tear gas or hot water on the people, burn their bodies, or some other method they can use. But we informed them during the workshop that you cannot use excessive force during demonstration unless you are being attacked by the protester or demonstrators with silent weapons and your people get sustain injury. And you're not going to use live bullet or rubber bullet. You use tear gas to drive them away. But it is unfortunate that the police will take the law in their own hands and use excessive force Whereas people that are in the street, they are armless. Why should you use, a light bullet or somebody who can arm with him? But because you want to give support from the government, say, yeah, people working in our interest. You're laughing at your own, people working in our interest. They start running behind. So, what is needed? Because we always see this thing that as we are going towards 2023, I think one of the questions somebody said the same thing. We have to be very mindful to avoid chaotic situations. Because I said it several times and people taking out of context. That if we're not careful, 2023 will run away from it. You have different thinking about it. You see, my statement will undermine the security of the state. Imagine that. Because people taking the law in their own hands. The Constitution is clear on its face. So this is why I want the clarification I want to get.
Great. So we can have just one more question. It's going to come from this gentleman. Then from there, we'll see whether or not we can, have Mother make a statement. And thereafter, we shut down.
Okay, my name is Malaya Tamachio. I come from the Louis Autonomous School of Law. And my question is, or will be directed to the minister.
Wow.
In his presentation, he said that there's no provision for protest or demonstration. Say the Constitution spoke of assembly. So what is right to use is assembly. But the recent communication from the Justice Ministry had the word protest. Your protest is granted. How do you compromise that? How do you analyze that compared to your statement? So are you saying that the ministry erroneously used the word protest? That's the first question. Then the second question is, you talk about there's no protest that has been peaceful. So I want to refer you to the recent protest held by the Student Unification Party. Do you consider that peaceful or a violent protest? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I guess you are a law student. For the first question, I said stereotypes.
So the first question was discussed lengthily, exhaustively. In any case, just a way of, how you call it here, surplusage. Yeah. Could you just hint a little bit?
Oh yeah. So they just really back. Okay. The first question was
the letter of the minister's response.
Okay. Firstly, let me start off to tell you that the Constitution is the organic law of the country. You agree with me?
Yeah.
And the Constitution squarely states in Article 17, peaceful assembly. And if you go to your dictionary, when you find assembly and demonstration, they are not synonymous.
Protest.
Okay, or protest, riot, demonstration, those are synonymous words. You can use them interchangeably. All right? All right. But for assembly, which is given in the Constitution, which is provided for by the Constitution, says that people move, get to a place, and present with common interest, present what they want to present, and they disperse and they leave. So I tell them, look, for you as a citizen, you have every right. You got your lawmakers, you elected them, you send them to the house, represent you. If you feel that you must protest, then you get to them and say, look, my man, if I come into run, come and say, my man, I want to run. Say, okay. Promise us here that we will include this in the law or in the Constitution. Let's have a referendum. All right?
So the ministry erred by using the word protest.
No, not as you think. I further say that the ministry has a discretionary power that it can use. So that was why it was that is the discretionary power of the Minister of Justice.
And it can be inherent as well. Mother.
Yeah, I'm married, the president of the Teachers Association. We are happy to be part of this forum. When you found out that when it comes to demonstration, protest, at the time we say we're not working, our children are in the street. And sometimes the way they are treated, it can be so bad. I'm glad that this forum is live, and we also want to get a clear understanding because when the chairman was speaking, he somehow like to restrict where to example. He was like saying it is not to the American embassy. Suppose it was with the Ministry of Education. I will still have to go to the Capitol building? No. We go to where we think our black can be addressed. So I wanted it to be clear that people will understand that he said not always to the EU or American embassy, maybe they got our interest to see that there where that will be heard faster. Yes. So if it was the Ministry of Education or the teachers of Liberia, we're going to go somewhere where they will hear us. But it can't always be strictly only to the Capitol building. And as the councillor said, yeah, most of the time if you go to the Capitol building, you go there and they don't listen to you. So what can we say if you continue to go out and they are not listening to you? What do you think we can do next?
Thank you, Mother. So then there's a lifting of the observation of Mr. Frank Sinwola when he also disagreed on that point in his presentation, and he said it will be discussed further during the question and answer period. Mr. Sinwola, that comes to you. What do you say?
Yeah, let me go back to what I said. Our government failed to learn lessons from the past. And if you follow this line of thought, with the statement of the Constitution only referring to assembly, and then my big brother here, the human rights chairman, he said in fact it should be skewed only to the Capitol building. It raises some concerns because that means there is some hesitation, frankly. The ministry was only acting based on the result of July 26. I can tell you frankly, that's all, to save face, you know. But inherently, they continue to say, no, I mean it's serious because this is our country, you know, and if it goes like this, with intolerance of demonstration and people seeing demonstration as April 14, you know, that peaceful, no peaceful. If you do what you're supposed to do, like Madam Newman said, students go up to protest. They're not use it just with their placards and other things. But like Councilor Brown said, you have our security people who are on showmanship. And they are loyal to CDC, some of them, many of them. They want to be seen as supporting the government interests. So they will go with the overzealous attitude and use heavy hand and make the country look bad. You know, actually, you can't start throwing tear gas when the people just pitch for the assembly. And again, on the other hand, we are in a country that is stuck in a culture of violence. People don't want to believe it, but it's a reality. 2 Sundays ago, I had to call some top people on New Georgia Road. I was fixing my car tire. Motorbike people said, I don't know what happened to one of the colleagues. Those people took bad bottom colitis on motorbikes, scores of them. As they ride, they just hit like that. I was almost chopped. I bought them. Yes, seriously. And some of our, I made mention of these political party militant brigades. They see themselves as, I mean, for them, if they can have a shortcut to the mansion, they're ready to do it. To go and move the minister for an office or take President Weah for an office. What do you, we talk about defining excessive force. What do you expect in a situation where people want to overrun, say, the executive mansion? Big crowd running there. And they say, Mr. President, calm down. Can't talk to us. What do you expect the security to do? I listened, follow keenly what happened on June 6 in America. That's how, America is always our yardstick.
January 6.
January 6. They describe the people moving into the Capitol building, most of them they have as insurrection. That's the terminology they give it, right? Insurrection. Had it been, for example, in another country, for example, Liberia, group of people marching, they say they want to go take over the Capitol building. And what do you expect a security force at that time to do? Is it an insurrection or the people peacefully exercising the democratic? So we must look at some of these critically. So I think for the Human Rights Commission, they need to do some serious dialogues and seminars towards 2023 to define what will be excessive force. Is tear gas excessive force when people are smashing people's windshield on Capitol Hill there and preventing people from going peacefully to work and things, and throwing stones. Stone, you know, stone can kill. They killed one person at a party one time last year. So how do we define it? If people are stoning, for example, on Broad Street, protesters, really stoning, people getting hurt, car windshields getting damaged, and the police went and used tear gas, what will be our description of that level of force? Will that be excessive force? I don't think it's excessive. So we need to, the human rights people, justice ministry, and even the law school and the bar, because sometimes we tend to analyze things in the country for emotions and political leanings. For me, I'm not a politician. I'm not a member of any political party. I don't wish to be a party. But we must look at it critically. America is our yardstick. They call what happened on June 6 insurrection. What similar scenario here? How will we describe it?
Treason. So we're going to give you 30 seconds, Mr. Frank Siwola, while you are right there to just give your concluding statement. 30 seconds.
Yeah, what I can say is that I think in a democracy, people need to exercise the right to peacefully assemble, demonstrate, or protest. Demonstration, protest, synonymous. So with a government that is jittery about demonstration, we want us to go have a referendum to put demonstration in the Constitution. I don't think it's called for it.
Thank you, Mr. Siwola. We'll give you, Honorable Brown, 30 seconds to make your snap statement.
Reference to excessive use of force. Police can only use excessive force where the violence is to the extent that the demonstrators or protesters are using silent weapons. And people they attack the police. And if the police cannot find a way clear, they use excessive force. And which one is considered as excessive force? Not to use live bullet. They use tear gas to drive the people away.
5 seconds to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 seconds.
Yeah, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Minister, you have 30 seconds. Just snap it in like this so we'll move on.
While we recognize the issue of free movement, we feel that it should be done with the confines of the law, and that your movement should not in any way or form or manner impede the movement of others. If you have any reason to believe that Article 17 has some ambiguity, however you call it, You need to see your lawmakers. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we wish we could remain here all day. But we definitely cannot. There is a time for everything. And every good thing or every bad thing must come to an end. At this time, I'd like to just go over one or two things quickly in terms of downloading our conclusion. One is, assembly is a fundamental right. However, it must observe the condition of being peaceful. State security must be moderate in their response to assembly and what we call demonstration. And the parties, whether the demonstrators or the state security or the government, must exercise tolerance and understand their limits. It is important that we understand that there is compelling state interest in all that we do. And even though the Constitution is the fundamental and first law of the nation, the safety and security of the state surpasses the Constitution. And we've just said education of the public and state actors is very relevant. As we go to elections, there is a view that there will be serious national security issue. So we have to now begin to think about what is peaceful and what does peaceful assembly mean. How we respond to this will definitely tell us how we exercise force. That said, the ICRPSD is a broad-minded, non-partisan, and independent partner to the government, to society, and to all of those residing in our borders and who have interest in Liberia. We left these issues not because we want to side or take part in anything that has to do with politics, but to protect our country more, to improve the conversation so that together we can think better. And this is why we want to now extend to you an invitation that the Institute is available, willing, ready at all times to work with any institution and any group of persons to make our country a better place. On behalf of the ICRPSD, I will now close this session and then turn over to our moderator, who will then move us from here further. Thank you very much.
I don't want to miss your name.
Our panelists again, the minister, members of civil society, the executive director, assistant director, and other colleagues of ICRPSD, colleagues of the Public Interest Law Office, hello. Other invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, members of the full estate are now called on the assistant director of ICRPSD for a closing statement. Yes. I'm not going to.
Okay, so let me say we had a wow session today. It was fascinating, it was good. The information out there, if anyone ever watched the presentations, the question and answers, and everything that we did in here, and still have a different mind when it comes to protest, demonstration, assembly, and everything, then I think it's just, maybe that person might just need some kind of reforming. But we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot from in here today. So on that note, on behalf of the Institute, I want to say thank you. Thank you to our presenters. Mr. Frank Sewula, thank you so much for honoring our invitation, for your excellent presentation, and to our own godfather, Mr. Brown, Councillor Brown, sorry, I shouldn't say Mr. Councillor Brown, thank you for honoring our invitation. We understand that you have a lot of tasks, but you took upon your time and you came here, so we want to say thank you. And to my own father, Councillor Tuan, this, I mean, we didn't ask you to come and do presentation, but you came and you just fit in. It's like there was a broken puzzle right there and you just fit in, and the conversation was well. And thank you to the audience. You did, coming, asking the questions,
out of the points that you made, I'm sure people out there learn something even from you, and they know your interest in protecting Mama Liberia, and when it comes to protecting rights of others. So ICRPSD appreciates your presence here, and we want to say thank you. We have a light refreshment. Therefore, from this section, we're going to go straight into our light refreshment while we make space for pictures, because I think that would just be prudent for us to do that. We will make the space while we're having our reflection. We'll make space so that we take group picture. Tomorrow we can remember this session. So thank you. We love you all. And to our viewers out there, we know there were some questions asked. I'm sure you got some answers from the presentation. So thank you too for joining us. God bless you.
Okay, just before we go for the group photo, we would like to have the high table exclusively, a picture of the high table. Councilor Brown.